Hey everybody, I'm Natasha, and I wanted to take you all on my journey. I have been dealing with a multitude of healthcare problems since the start of 2022, and I'm hoping by making these videos I might bring awareness to my conditions and maybe help anybody out there that might be suffering from the same. So come and follow along as I tell you about my journey. It started in January of 2022. I had went on a trip to Disney World. As you can see, I have my Minnie Mouse shirt on. So coming back from that trip, I had felt like I had pulled a muscle in my leg. So I figured I'd wait around for about 2 weeks, and if it hadn't resolved, then I would go see my family doctor, which is basically what happened. So I saw my family doctor, and she ordered an ultrasound. And when I got my results, they told me that I had an inguinal hernia. Now, keep in mind, I'm a 30-year-old woman. I have a 6-year-old son. And when I was pregnant with my son, I had developed an umbilical hernia. And that hernia has never caused me any problems. So I thought it a little bit odd when they told me I had an inguinal hernia. And I was ordered to stay at home on sick leave because they were worried that this hernia was borderline strangulated. But I had to wait for a specialist to see what could be done. So I waited until May and I saw the specialist, and they said that it was not an inguinal hernia. So when you get news like that, it's a little bit disheartening, because you have to go back to square one and try to troubleshoot the problem, basically. So I went back to my family doctor. Now, I don't know if anybody out there has the same issue that I do, but my family doctor is not the most supportive in the world. And I really had to advocate for myself after researching at home so much about what could possibly be going on. I had asked her to put a referral in to see a gynecologist. And so I had to wait a couple more months to see a gynecologist. In the meantime, I had one day where I had an episode of pain so severe, I could not walk. It was very difficult to walk. Now, mind you, this entire time I have been dealing with difficulty standing for long periods of time, sitting for long periods of time, and just having a lot of pain in my abdominal area. So I ended up going to the urgent care during this one time of very severe pain, and they had ordered for me to have another ultrasound. And so had this ultrasound, and it came back that I had a fibroid this time around. And so went back to my family doctor again, and I said, now that I have this ultrasound, it's even more of a reason to go and see a gynecologist. So I saw a gynecologist about a week ago now, and the gynecologist had told me that I have what's called lynch syndrome. Lynch syndrome. Now, I don't know if anybody is actually aware of what Lynch syndrome is. I was not, so I had to go home and research a lot. And it's basically a cancer syndrome. So from what I'm getting out of this, it's a cancer syndrome that has no cure. And it's a syndrome where every year I have to go get blood samples, biopsies done, and they have to keep on track of, basically monitoring me at all times, to see if a cancer does develop, and just to take, all the steps, what you would have to do once you find out that you do have cancer, right? To prevent it and just to get better, right? So with keeping in mind that, again, there's no cure. So you would just have to treat each cancer, individually. And so having known that now, it doesn't really solve the issue that I'm dealing with already with this subfibroid. So when I told the gynecologist about this, she said to me, you know what? Yeah, you have a fibroid, but your fibroid, it's small. It's like 2 centimeters. Okay. So this fibroid wouldn't be causing any issues. You shouldn't have any symptoms revolving around this fibroid. No symptoms whatsoever. So, having thought about that, I'm thinking to myself, okay, it's probably more severe than what this fibroid is saying. So she had ordered for me to have another ultrasound again to see if this said fibroid has grown, or, maybe there's another fibroid, because I find it odd that it wasn't found my first ultrasound, but it was found the second time around. And then she had also ordered for me to have a blood test to see if it is anything to do with ovarian cancer. And she also wanted me to have an endometrial biopsy, which I still actually have to wait for. So there's a lot of waiting, and I've already waited a long time. I've already had to lose out on a lot of activities that I would have loved doing, especially with it being summertime now. We're in the middle of July, and there's a lot that I've missed out on, a lot that I can't do because I'm trying to figure out what this situation is. And it's a lot. Even my family doctor right now, she is off. So I'm kind of having to go and deal with a backup family doctor for the meantime. I've had appointments be canceled on me. I've had appointments that have had apparently non-existent this entire time. And so the healthcare system itself is just a mess in Canada, especially in Ontario. It's really hard to get any type of specialist. It's really hard to get even a different family doctor. So I guess for now, I just have to wait and just do test by test by test, just try and see what is going on. So I'm hoping eventually that I'll be able to figure it all out. Maybe I'll actually have one concrete answer, and if it's not, then maybe it's just a multitude of answers and maybe a multitude of problems that I just have to solve one by one. So I'll hopefully have another video soon, and I can tell you all about what's going on. Until then, have a good one.